Because if this is an ideological battle with communist China, that means the United States has to have some ideological alternative that is worth standing up and fighting for, and not just a managed decline.
Even saying that, though, Chris, doesn't that sound somehow?
It sounds awesome.
Yes, and I think we talk about this in the book as well. One of the solutions is we need to be able to combat this ideological, educational assault wave, if you will, with our own political warfare capabilities. We need to be able to have a government that's willing to challenge the Chinese on this ideological front and to confront when they lie, when China Daily or People's Daily or whatever it is, or when they're up in their spokesman or making a statement. We need to be able to have a government that has the capacity to call out these actions that they're doing. So I've called for years about why aren't we reporting more on what the Chinese is doing inside with their military inside the first island chain when they are, threatening our allies in the Philippines or in Japan. We should be reporting that, not sensationalizing, just the facts of, so that we can get it on the official record, so that then the journalists and the academic community can collate that information and start reporting out trend lines of what the Chinese are doing. But we've kind of tended to not do that. Now, there's been some recent national defense authorization bills, and there's been some efforts at the State Department with the Global Awareness Center and things of that nature. But it seems to be, what you guys are saying is that they seem to be more focused on silencing dis, and false information amongst Americans than they are about calling out bold-faced lies from the Chinese Communist Party and the threats that they are doing, or the lies about how their system is a superior system. As Brad likes to say, their system is going to fall in the ash heap of history because communism is a failed, illegitimate system. And the Chinese Communist Party is a illegitimate government. They don't belong there. Marxism is from Germany, right? Marxist-Leninists and Stalinists are Germans and Russian ideologies. So why are Chinese people, being led by that? If I was Chinese, I'd be like, why am I following this guy around, Karl Marx? I don't get it. Now, they've tried to, over the years, they've done a very good job of propagandizing that to say it's really communist with Chinese characteristics. But the fact of the matter is it's an illegitimate government. It's an illegitimate form of governance. It's failed miserably throughout history. It's dangerous. It's killed millions of people. And our system has proven to be very effective and help more people around the world than any other system. So we have a lot to be positive about. We have a lot to talk about. Let's do it.
Well, so why do we need to worry about communist China if, it's doomed to the ash heap of history, if it's a corrupt system that's going to collapse?
Well, it only collapses if there is an alternative there, that they can see that there's an alternative system that can compete against it. And competing requires taking some effort.
Well, so I know your book talks a bit about some of the solutions. I'd like to talk about that. And also just what happens if, does the Chinese Communist Party need the U.S. to push against it for it to collapse? What if the system just collapses under the weight of itself? We've seen a lot of really severe economic troubles in China, a lot of social unrest happening.
I'm of the opinion that we have to contribute to their downfall. I'm not talking about regime change. I'm not talking about putting troops in China. That's not the issue. The issue is to draw a stark distinction between the advantages of freedom and liberty versus collectivism and slavery under a single-party state. That's the distinction that needs to be drawn ideologically. In terms of military competition, well, we need to be able to make them rethink that they can just march through Taiwan, the Senkakus, or the Indian border, or Mongolia, and just take people and do it without any cost. There has to be a cost for them. They have to really believe that there's going to be a dangerous existential cost to them for taking those kinds of actions. And we haven't done that. So it requires, in terms of solutions, it requires our nation to get back to what we had done in the Cold War, which is to make sure that we had a credible, conventional, and nuclear force structure. And conventional forces, that seems fairly easy to people in terms of why you would need it, very costly, and it's going to take a lot of time to get it. If we want to start producing aircraft carriers like we did in 1940, with the Two Ocean Navy Act, we're going to have new shipyards, and we're going to have more labor to be able to do that. We're going to have less regulations from the government, more incentivization from the government to get those things built, and that's going to take time. And if we think that China's getting ready to invade Taiwan in this decade of concern that we talked about before and in this book, then we're going to have to think something different. We're going to have to be innovative. And the area that's probably the most controversial in the book, and I say it out here right now, is that we need to start talking with our allies and partners in Asia about the introduction of theater and tactical nuclear weapons in Taiwan or in Japan or in Korea, not to force it on them, not to mandate it, but to have those conversations because we have allies and friends that aren't going to be able to take advantage of our conventional military force that's so depleted right now, and it's going to take too long to build it up. So we need to start having those conversations in public now, because we need to make Beijing understand that we're serious about this, that it's a no-go zone, and if they go there, that they have to consider what we'll do with nuclear weapons. And that sounds provocative to people. It sounds escalatory. And I always like to remind people, well, yeah, I can understand why you'd think that's provocative or escalatory. But again, in the last 3 years, the PRC and the PLA built 350 ICBM silos in central and western China, 300 to 350. And they have the DF-41 intercontinental ballistic missile. Those missiles are designed to fly over the pole and nuke the United States of America, where we're sitting right now. And those missiles have somewhere between 3, 6, or 10 independent reentry vehicles. So we're talking literally potentially thousands of warheads that could rain down on us. They built that. Now, I know there's reports in Bloomberg that say that, well, there's a leaked intelligence report that says that they're having problems and they filled up their missiles with water and not fuel. Well, the fact of the matter is the DF-41 is a solid fuel missile, not a liquid fueled missile. So, and this idea of threat deflating again comes into play, downplaying the threat. The fact is, Chinese have built their nuclear arsenal. The arsenal is real, and they have done it while we have not changed our nuclear arsenal. So I don't accept any criticism that says we're provocative if we talk about putting nukes in Taiwan. What we're talking about is last-ditch measures almost to be able to save the people of Taiwan from a potential catastrophic invasion or a blackmailed invasion that China could use by saying, hey, America, if you get involved with this internal PRC police action against a rogue province, we'll use nukes on you. Well, we need to have something that would counter their ability to say that with no worry.
Right. Because Taiwan would have nukes themselves. And
Correct.
So there's no point in threatening the U.S.